wow, how is there not a bunch of people doing this? I think the biggest barrier to entry is it's hard work. Like the crews we have grinding into the shoe and then getting it glued on and then taking those clamps off. Like it just takes a lot of work and a lot of strength. So we receive the shoe. We can convert 90% of all sneakers. He threw the white pair on a whim, goes out there, throws his first career no-hitter. Those shoes are in the Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
So Custom Cleats is in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm nowhere near the Hall of Fame, but at least our sneakers are there.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Beyond the Glove. I am your host, Ben Loafman. We're very excited for today's episode. We're going to be freshening up our content a little bit for all of our listeners out there. So we got baseball, cleats, and gloves. And in the pros, they have something in common. In recent history, they've both been freed up a little bit. And that freedom came on the heels of tight restrictions imposed on them regarding colors. MLB restrictions on cleat color came down in 2019 when the so-called 51% rule that dictated that 51% of a player's cleat feature his team's primary color was removed by the MLB and MLBPA. Gloves have been mostly held down by industry standards, but it seems like since 2020, manufacturers have unleashed the reins, not only for their sponsored MLB athletes, but on their custom builders that anyone can use as well. Our guest today is an expert on both cleats and gloves and comes with quite a resume as well. A Southern Oregon native, Jeremy Guthrie pitched parts of 13 MLB seasons, most notably with the Baltimore Orioles and Kansas City Royals. And in 2014, he pitched games 3 and 7 of the World Series for the Kansas City Royals and eventually became a world champion the following year in 2015. Throughout his career, Guthrie established himself as the OG sneakerhead of Major League Baseball. And though maybe less known, he handled his glove game flawlessly as well. Excited to dive into both cleats and gloves today. Jeremy, welcome to the show, man.
Oh, Ben, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. What a kind introduction. I don't know if I'm OG anything, but we'll take it.
Yep. No, I don't know if I've ever heard you call yourself that, but I've heard other people say it. So
yeah, I don't think you get to call yourself an OG.
Probably not. But on July 31st of 2017, you officially retired from baseball. But you've remained incredibly active. What's life look like for you right now?
It's busy. My oldest is 20 years old. She's engaged to get married this May. And so my son's a senior in high school. He's going to graduate and go on to what's next for him. And two young ones. I have a 14-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so I have that at home. And then I have broadcasting with the Kansas City Royals. I have ambassador of MLB with a number of former retired players like myself. So we're all over the world for that. And then on top of that, I'm trying to build a business.
Really?
So, yeah.
Nice.
So I stay quite busy. I'm probably more busy as a retired baseball player than I was as a current player.
Okay. And let's go ahead with this little business. Why don't you go ahead, just give us a little teaser what you're doing with your business right now?
Yeah. Well, the big key was when I was a young player, I wanted to have the best looking cleats that match my uniform, and it was hard to find. And so I remember I found a pair of black and orange Air Jordan 1s.
Okay.
And I told my agent, I said, can we get cleats put on these somehow? I want to pitch in them. And so he found someone, turned out to be Custom Cleats, started my relationship with Anthony Ambrosini of Custom Cleats, did a few more conversions, most notably probably a pair of foam posits that I wore as a Royal black. They were blue and gray, wore them with the gray road uniforms. And at the end of my career, Anthony asked if I would want to invest. So I partnered with him. And then just 2 years ago, me and my friend from college, we bought the entire business together. And so now for almost 24 months, we've been running Custom Cleats by ourselves and trying to grow the business.
Nice. That's awesome. So for you, when did you first, so obviously you don't get into the business unless you're a big shoe guy. When did you realize that you were first a sneaker guy?
I think the first time I looked at sneakers and they hit me in the, up and upside the head, I was probably in first grade.
Okay.
And my oldest brother, who's 8 years older, was playing freshman basketball at Joe Lane Junior High School in Roseburg, Oregon.
Okay.
And the colors are black, red, and white. And they had the Air Jordan 1 as a team.
Okay.
All of them wore the Air Jordan 1. And with that black, red, and white combo, they were wearing the Chicago colorway. I remember looking and I said, that is really cool. That just like pops. It's amazing. I ended up getting a pair of Sky Jordan 1s, which were at the time the grade sizes. Didn't say Air Jordan. They said Sky Jordan. And I'm still surprised they've never retroed them that way. That would be a really cool kind of OG thing for them to do. Jordan brand would be to put the Sky Jordan on the Wings logo. But at that point, I was all in at the, Michael Jordan from there, his career launches, he becomes who he became. And I became a Michael Jordan fan. I became a fan of his sneakers. I became a fan of Nike, all things Nike. Every Nike athlete was my favorite, whether it was Andre Agassi or whether it was, Gary Payton, Michael Jordan. These guys were people I just loved to emulate and loved to watch. And my sneaker desire, my sneaker love was launched right then and there.
Nice. So did you, right from the beginning, were you already collecting, or did it take a while for you to build up a collection?
I was collecting. I mean, it was much, much different than a kid today.
Yeah.
From just money that's available to access to sneakers. But I think for me, what indicates a collector is someone that never wants to get rid of their shoes. So when I was done wearing them, they didn't go in a garbage bag. They stayed on my shelf. And so I still have a pair of Air Jordan 4s from 1989 with the original box, completely destroyed in every facet of the shoe. Like, it's torn on the outside part. The whole midsole is crumbled and exploded multiple times. But yeah, so I think from there, like, if you got a new shoe, it was part of your collection. You built it up and built it up. And then I started altering shoes. I started cutting straps off and putting straps from other pairs of Nikes onto the other ones, so I could have swooshes in more places. Try to individualize the sneaker. I started doing that in high school a lot.
So did you know how to do like the sewing and all?
No, okay. I'm not that good. I'm no what's the word? Shoe surgeon or anything like that.
There you go. Yeah. That's funny. I've always wondered this. So do you think was the first Air Jordan 1, did that bring color in to basketball, or did it happen before that? Was Converse doing that before? Or?
Well, I don't know when the weapon came out, but the Converse weapon certainly had some color, right? If you think about the Magic Johnson colorway with the yellow and purple, golden purple. So I think that sneaker probably beat the Jordan to the market, but certainly it didn't have the same impact, right? No offense, but I don't think anyone looked at the weapon and said, geez, I got to go have a pair of weapons. And granted, they probably did sell thousands of the weapon, but I think the Jordan sneaker clearly just, it took it to another level, and it was the performance. And Michael said that in every interview you'll ever hear him talk about. Listen, what I did on the court is what has made Jordan brand what it is. He says the shoe by itself, without someone performing, would have been nothing. And says that's why I always focused my attention on my game. You had to do your work on the court to have the success off the court.
That's cool. That's funny that you bring up the weapon. So I've mentioned this on the show before, but I'm in a family of 1 of 9 kids, and we had some weapon. Like we had the Laker colorway weapon at some point. I don't know if it was like a remake or something like that, but I remember us seeing that and we were like, what are these shoes? I wish I knew where they were at this time.
They'd be worth something.
But we had something. So no, that's funny. Okay. So you got the basketball shoes, they blow up pretty quick after Jordan. In the mid 90s, you're in high school. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What were you using?
Glory days.
What were you using?
What weren't you using in the mid 90s?
That is a better question. What were you using for baseball cleats?
In baseball cleats, wow. I wore a pair of just regular Nikes. I don't even know what they were called, if they had a name. It wasn't a Cooperstown. It was pre-Cooperstown, but just the basic Nike. Go look at Mike Musina, like early in his career, and that's the shoe. Whatever that Nike cleat was, I can always envision him wearing it. I remember I bought a pair of Rawlings cleats. Really? East Bay, the magazine, came into my home every month, right? And they had a pair of black Rawlings cleats and a pair of white ones. I'm like, man, Rawlings, like that's the ultimate thing. The mark of a pro. I got to have a pair of those. So I bought a pair of Rawlings cleats that, looking back on it, might be the ugliest cleats I've ever owned. But that's what I wore most of high school, was that white pair of Rawlings.
Okay. Do you still have those?
No, I don't. Jeez, it would be fun to see them though. It'd be fun.
That is wild. That's cool. The East Bay magazine, we haven't brought, that was when that came to the house back in the day. You're like, all the things my mom and dad won't let me buy. Like,
they should retro East Bay magazines.
I think so. No, that would be great. So
with the actual shoes and the prices, it's so much fun.
That would be awesome. That's wild. So you're wearing Jordan. That had to be kind of a letdown. Where I guess you were pretty excited about your Rawlings, but you have the awesome cleats for basketball, and then for basically nothing to really to do at that point.
But there was no one had cool shoes. Okay. I think I remember Frank Thomas.
Ooh, did he have Reeboks?
Was it called the Big Hurt? Is that what they called his cleat?
I think they were like white and black and like stripy all over.
I don't remember, but I do. I had a brother-in-law.
Okay.
My brother married Jennifer, and her older brother, pitched professionally with the A's.
Okay.
And at the time they were filming Angels in the Outfield.
Okay.
And he was a minor league pitcher. And so he got brought on to be a double or to do something in the filming.
Okay.
And they gave him a glove and they gave him some of the Frank Thomas Reeboks. And when he was done with them, he gave them to me.
Oh,
And
really?
so I did wear them for a short time. I don't remember much about them. They were black, the ones I got at
Okay.
least. And I think they were one of the very first models that were made for him, because I think he had a good run. The Big Hurt had a lot of sneakers and cleats over the years.
Nice. That's cool. That's fun to hear. I mean, I would be if I knew someone that was in Angels in the Outfield, I'd be ecstatic. That was like the movie of my childhood.
It's a good one. My kids love that one.
They do? Nice. That is cool to see how some of those movies still, even when you look back, Angels in the Outfield or Rookie of the Year, it's like there's some mistakes that they made in making it, but for the kids, it still hits like for those ages.
Heck, they're making mistakes in modern day baseball movies. People always ask me, is Moneyball legit? Is Moneyball real? I said, I think it's pretty accurate, but I said, there's no way that I believe that the Oakland Athletics had a vending machine inside their clubhouse. Like, I do not believe that. I've been around baseball long enough. I don't think that's true.
That's funny. Yeah. And then like, there's some guy that's supposed to be Miguel Tejada come by, and he doesn't look at all like Miguel Tejada. I remember from
Is Miguel Tejada not like Royce Clayton? Is that not the actor in the movie?
Is it? It might be. I think that sounds right.
I think Royce Clayton is somebody, and I think it's Miguel Tejada.
It is,
so,
okay.
Yeah, certainly not Miguel Tejada, but it actually is a big leaguer, which is good.
That's cool. I didn't know. They did for Moneyball. They did make the guys looked like they knew what they were doing the whole time. They even made Chris Pratt. I thought he looked pretty good. He had a decent swing.
And he looked exactly like Hatterberg.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Like, he actually looked like the same person, but had very good mechanics.
Yeah.
So they did a very nice job. I think of, when you think of mechanics and someone that looks the part, Charlie Sheen obviously loves baseball, and he did a nice job. But think about just how good Robert Redford is. I feel like Robert Redford looks like a baseball player himself from The Natural, which is my favorite baseball movie.
Yeah.
So
they
do a nice job in casting.
They do. Absolutely. I feel like there hasn't been a featured like baseball movie though since Moneyball. I feel like that's
probably true.
Probably the last one. We're due.
Either.
I think
we are due. Maybe a steroid era movie.
There you
or
go.
Something. Who knows?
Yeah. That's funny. Actually, I think this is my last comment on that. I think on Netflix, they did like the Bash Brothers with Andy Samberg or something like that. It was pretty cheesy, but okay. So your career path after high school, pretty incredible story. So step in. So you drafted on 3 separate occasions. You served as a missionary in Spain with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You eventually attended Stanford, where you were drafted by the Indians. And that sparked a career where you made over 270 professional starts within Major League Baseball. And so you come to a point in your career where, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit, so you decided you're not going to be limited by what a shoe company can give you for a cleat. And you turned to what your shirt says right now, so Custom Cleats. And you said Anthony Ambrosini. Is that how you say his name? Yep. Nice. And you mentioned, how many conversions did you do with him while you were in?
I think I did 3 or 4.
Okay.
So not a ton.
Okay.
Not like they do today. We got an order yesterday from a big leaguer.
Okay.
6 pair.
Really?
Yeah. And that's just a start. He's like, I'll probably do another 7 at the All-Star break.
Okay.
So
dude,
we're living in another world right now.
I know. And so I've heard you talk about this before. It is kind of wild because for baseball, like, just the stand, I guess a lot of people, so I guess we'll talk about it right now. So when you do a conversion, why don't you hold up for those watching? Yeah. He's got a cleat for us. So they go ahead and kind of explain the process, what you guys do when someone puts in an order.
So it's super simple. Like there's, people say, wow, how is there not a bunch of people doing this? I think the biggest barrier to entry is it's hard work. Like the crews we have grinding into the shoe and then getting it glued on and then taking those clamps off, like it just takes a lot of work and a lot of strength. So we receive the shoe. We can convert 90% of all sneakers, right? The biggest limitations we have are with Air Max family. The Air Max 180s, 270s, 360s are all shoes we don't convert.
Okay.
But we just need a little bit of sole. We grind into the sole and then we apply the cleat plates.
Okay.
And that's it. That's it. Simple. We take that sneaker, basketball shoe, Jason Tatum, put some cleats on it, and bam, now it's a baseball cleat. And not only that, but it's a good looking baseball
cleat. That is a good looking baseball cleat too. No, it actually, like sometimes you see some of them and you're like, oh, that's a basketball shoe, which is cool. I think that's awesome that it's like that guy's wearing basketball shoes and he's playing baseball. But that one actually doesn't even look like it, just seamlessly kind of blends in there.
Yeah. And the fun thing is the athletes that the shoes belong to get very excited.
Okay. Oh, really?
So, Steph Curry is very aware that a lot of guys are wearing his sneaker.
Okay.
With cleats on the bottom. Who's our friend with the Cavs? Donovan Mitchell loves baseball, very connected to the New York Mets, and actually has reached out to us to say, I want to do cleats on my shoe to introduce it to the world. The 2023 All-Star game in Seattle, his brand new Dawn issue 5 came out, and he put cleats on his very first pair that they ever shared.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's cool.
And so the athletes are excited about it as well. Who knows if LeBron James, I think he commented years ago on a post we put out there, Josh Donaldson was wearing his Soldiers, and LeBron James commented on a post that he made in the cleats. He's like, hey bro, I love you wearing my shoes on the diamond.
That is cool. I love when you can, when you cross, there's like so much opportunity for crossing between the sports. That's awesome. And have you guys ever, so, I'm sure that someone worries about this. They're getting their cleat, you're getting it converted from basketball to baseball. It doesn't seem for baseball. It seems like it's great for like you're not going to get injured or anything.
Correct.
Like that.
We apply it with a very, very strong adhesive. And so do they come off? Occasionally we'll have one or two that kind of start to peel off, and players will send them back to us. We'll repair it, no cost to them. But in terms of it like falling off mid-performance, that's never going to happen. Like it's never going to just all of a sudden rip off.
Yeah.
And so we've had athletes of every sport. We've had NFL players wear them in an NFL game. It's probably our least common sport. But we have guys, Terrell Suggs from the Baltimore Ravens was rocking a pair of LeBron Soldiers in an NFL game on Sunday afternoon.
That's cool.
And we've had other guys, Derek Carr did a few conversions last season in training camp and wore them. But yeah, we've had great track record, knock on wood, with all of our athletes, the thousands that have converted over the last 20 years, and they love it.
That's cool. So you had talked about this as well. So 2015, so that was the first time that you went in on Custom Cleats. So you said 24 months ago, you took over completely. But in 2015, you'd been using them for a while. And I think, did you start with 25%? Is that how you went in?
Yeah, that was the initial investment.
Tell us, I feel like set the scene for how that happened for us. That's a pretty cool, go ahead.
The negotiations started, sometime in the summer. Anthony reached out, and he's in New York City. That's where he's from. That's where he still lives. And one of our conversion facilities is in New York State. And so we were there playing the New York Mets, and we were going to finalize the deal. Had my lawyer there with the documents, got Anthony tickets to the World Series game. I think it was game 4 against the Mets. And down the left field line, I finalized the deal to be a minority owner of Custom Cleats right there on the wall beyond the third base dugout where the New York Mets were. Signed the paperwork, and
nice.
Next night we won the World Series, but I was also a business owner, so it was a good weekend for me in New York City.
That was a very fun times for Kansas City. That's cool. And all the little stories for everybody, I'm sure, on the team that are happening at that time. You're signing a deal, like who knows what else was going on in everybody's life. So that's super cool. As far as like kind of how you explained, you put the cleats, like your Custom Cleats, putting the plate onto the cleat or the shoe itself. I think the website's impressive just how simple it is. Like I went onto the website to check it out, and it's just choose your plates. You got metal, tooth, rounded, turf, or golf. You guys take care of the shipping both ways, isn't that right?
Yeah, it is. It's included.
No,
I mean, the biggest question we get.
Yeah, this is a kid. For those not watching, this is cool. Like you can do it for your kids too.
Yeah, it's funny.
So,
that was maybe the biggest surprise. People say like, who are your customers? Is it mostly college kids, high school kids, softball players, major leaguers? The answer is it's everybody. But maybe the most surprising kind of population is the amount of parents who want to send us shoes for their young ball player that's playing t-ball or just getting into youth baseball. We do a number of small shoes in youth sizes.
Really?
So we just got metal. This is our molded tooth shape that we use, very traditional looking cleats, but we finally got metal for our youth as well. Because some kids, just don't have a bigger foot.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we appeal to. We appeal to people who have monstrous feet or have problems with their feet. We allow that athlete to perform their favorite sport in a shoe that works for them. Because oftentimes a cleat doesn't fulfill that. Maybe it causes more pain, shin splints, whatever it might be. And so we allow them to do that. But yes, the biggest question we always get is, do I send the shoe? So you look at our Instagram page at Custom Cleats.
Yeah.
You see a picture every single day for the past, I don't know how many years, of us posting a conversion that was done for another athlete. And they say, wow, I love that shoe. I'll buy that in a size 12. We don't do that. We don't prefabricate. We want every one of the shoes to be your choice. You get to go out and buy it, whatever colorway you want, whatever size. And so that's probably the biggest confusion. Most of the questions we answer is, how do I do this? But once you go to the website, customcleats.com, it is very simple. You have to make two decisions, just like you said. What style of cleat? Do I want metal, rounded tooth, whatever it might be? And what color?
Yeah.
You hit purchase. As soon as you make a purchase, You get an email to your email directly with a shipping label. Take that to UPS, send us the shoes. We also do a very nice job of working with athletes. Most of our athletes in this day and age want to send us the shoe directly from Nike.com, Adidas.com, GOAT, StockX.
Yeah.
And so through Instagram, we'll give them the directions. There's also directions on the website, but they always want to kind of make sure that, that's the challenge. If you're going to send somebody a $500 pair of shoes or a $1,000 pair of shoes, you want to make sure they're going somewhere where you trust and that you're going to get them back. And that's a unique part of our business as well. We're asking you to give us money and then to send us your really expensive shoe. And when it's all said and done, you're going to get it back, you hope, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, you're going to get it back from us. But there are scammers out there. There's a few accounts that mimic what we do. And we've had a lot of players learn the hard way about that. Who come through us. So you can ship it to us directly from a GOAT or a StockX, and it comes right to us, eliminates one of the steps, makes it quicker, and then the shoes come to you and have cleats on them.
That's cool. I, as a consumer, and that's the shipping both ways is huge.
Like it is. Anytime in this day and age, I think we only included shipping the return shipping, but we had to make that choice. Like to compete with online commerce in this day and age, like no one wants to pay shipping.
Yeah.
It's like a deal breaker. We'll do the conversion for $100, but you got to pay 50 shipping. They'll be like, no, okay, fine. We'll charge you $200 and give you free shipping. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. It's just, you want to know what you're paying all up front. And you don't want to have to go through the hassle. So the shipping labels being emailed directly to you when you make the purchase has really been big for us.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And then I had to, on your guys' website, because I just thought you guys have like that special Vans section as well, which I feel like, so for me, and I'll just get it up here. So I have, for those watching, so it's like Vans, it's a skate shoe.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like, cause I think a lot of the stories that you guys tell people, they can't find a cleat that fits them, but they're like, I like this shoe. This is comfortable. I like running around in it. So you guys, you can take this. It's great. It doesn't look like a baseball shoe, but you can throw the plates on this and it could be the most comfortable thing for you to use. It was really cool last year. I'm not I don't know a ton about shoes, but when Michael Lorenzen was pitching for the Royals in the playoffs last year, I noticed everybody was like, dude, his Vans. And like my wife, she was like, that guy has cool shoes. And she doesn't pay attention to that stuff at all. I was like, those are awesome. And you guys, you do those for Michael Lorenzen, right?
Yeah. We've been doing it now, I think, for maybe 7-8 years.
Okay.
Michael's a SoCal guy, one of the greatest guys in all of Major League Baseball, such a down-to-earth, hardworking, just really awesome guy. And he was, he's been sending shoes to us to get converted for years. And it really all came to a head when he got traded to the Philadelphia Phillies back in the 23 season.
Okay.
And it was his very first home start. And his favorite model at that time was the Ultra Range EXO.
Okay.
Probably called the EXO. I don't know exactly what they call it
at
Vans headquarters, but and he threw a no-hitter.
Okay.
In a pair of all white Vans. And ironically, we had given him a bunch of shoes that year. He was an all-star, his first all-star game in 23. And we had taken him about 6 pairs as a gift for all-star. And there was a white pair that was done. And he's like, oh, wow, white pair. I don't know if I'll wear those, but thanks a lot. I'll keep them.
Yeah.
And it was the white pair. Then we went to the Phillies because he was, before he was with the Tigers. And so his color scheme totally flip-flopped on him.
Okay.
And when he got there, all he had was the white pair that kind of matched the uniform. So he threw the white pair on a whim, goes out there, throws his first career no-hitter. Those shoes are in the Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
So Custom Cleats is in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm nowhere near the Hall of Fame, but at least our sneakers are there.
That is so good.
Yeah,
that is
super
awesome.
Fun.
That's have you been up there to see him yet?
I have not seen the shoes. I've been to the Hall of Fame multiple times, but I haven't seen his shoes. But I've gotten photos from my good friend John, who works up there.
Okay.
And really, it was from there. Like, at that point, Mr. Steve Van Dorn from Vans reached out to us, wanted to commemorate the no-hitter. So he had us convert a few more pair of Vans. He bronzed a pair, made a couple of those, gave those to Michael in person.
Okay.
And at that point, like Vans, like he's talking to us about how can we collaborate? How can we work together? Michael's obviously getting more and more pairs. And we've had a really great relationship with Vans and Mr. Van Dorn since that moment. I think he's probably had gifts or conversions for 50 of his friends, from neighbors, kids to his buddy who is a lineman on the Bills.
Okay.
Like we have converted, I can't even tell you how many pairs of Vans. And we've been able to collaborate where we have access. We said, can we list your shoe on our website as a shoe that they can purchase? It's almost pre-converted, if you will, because we have it in stock.
Okay.
And we don't do that with any other shoes because we don't want to confuse anything. We are not building a shoe. We are not replacing a Nike or an Adidas Under Armour spike, we are an aftermarket service. So just like if you put big rims or small rims or, tiny tires on your car and you go 1,000,000 miles an hour and you hit it and you blow out, like we are a customization. And so we're not trying to we are altering the shoes, but we are not trying to sell them as though they are manufactured by the company. So we try to make that distinction really clear. But with Vans, they're like, you know what? Do whatever you want. Like put them on the website. We'd love to be a part of it.
I love those. I feel like on the website, you guys have those red ones. And I was like, dude, for slow pitch softball, just like rolling out with like those, you're like, what are you wearing? And you're like, dude, they're cleats. It's all good.
It's the greatest. It is so fun to show up with a pair of shoes or boots for that matter. We have one player sending us a pair of cowboy boots this week. He's been following up. Hey, rubber sole better than a leather sole? I said, yeah, rubber is going to be better. It'll be easier for us to apply the cleat plate to it. But
is he going to golf in them?
No, baseball.
What?
Baseball and boots.
Okay. Like, is he going to pitch with?
Better believe it.
That's really cool. Is this going to be a big thing? Like,
he's a banana.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the Savannah bananas are fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
And they've all got their little skit there.
Yeah.
So it fits perfect.
Nice. You've played a little bit with the bananas, haven't you? You guys did the Chiefs circle or
what
whatever.
do they call that? The ring around the rosy. I don't know what they called it, but and then the bananas come to Kansas City in May of this year. They'll play at Kauffman Stadium.
Nice.
I think they're playing in 15 big league ballparks.
This is a real deal.
Pretty exciting. Yeah. 30 games. All sold out, of course. Can't get tickets to any of them.
It's wild. I fortunately, I think it was 22 was the first year they came. And I was like, I for some reason I knew early. So I bought the tickets. And it's wild to think now how big it was. It was that T-Bone. I think you were there the second year. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
And it was at T-Bone's. And it was like, this is really cool. My wife was like, that's the most booty shaking I've ever seen at a baseball game in my life. And it's wild just how big they were huge then, but like how big it is.
Yeah.
Really
and I think what makes it exciting is they're talented. The players are very good. Some of them have chosen to pursue banana ball versus maybe a minor league career. They have a few former Royals, minor league farmhands on the team as well. So they play a good brand. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. You have to play the game well. And then on top of that, they're just the ultimate entertainers. All of them. And they're just such great guys on both the Party Animals and the Savannah Bananas. I don't know the Visitors or the Firefighters yet, which is the newest team.
Yeah.
But from the coaching staff, from ownership all the way down to the last player on the roster, very humble, recognize just the impact they're having on kids and families. And they just want their motto is fans first.
Yeah.
Everything they do is to make the fan have a better experience. And so they're easy to root for. They're exciting to watch. And there's a lot of booty shaking.
And it's cool. I love that they bring guys, the old players back. That was the one in Kansas City. I don't know if you remember this name. There's a guy named Bill Lee who pitched for the Red Sox in like the 70s. And I would watch the Ken Burns baseball thing. I was probably the only person in the stadium like geeking out. It's like, it's Bill Lee. And my wife's like, I don't know who you're talking about. But so no, that's fun.
Spaceman did a lot.
Yeah.
Accomplished a lot on the field that people maybe don't remember. But
he was a man.
I don't know if he's 80 years old, 75, but
and he
out
still
there.
Plays.
Yeah. He flings out there his curveball and his little ephus curveball. Yeah, they do a great job.
No, that's fun. So baseball and all sports are pretty funny games. And so a new pair of cleats or a new glove or something like that, it's not going to tactically increase your chances to perform better, but it does put you in a better mental space that can help you perform better. And so in the off season between 2005 and 2006, I believe you were still fighting in the minors, right?
Yeah,
to get up.
I was definitely mired in the minors.
Okay,
no doubt about it.
And you had to made a little repertoire change for your glove that year. What did you do to help spark your game a little bit?
Well, very simple. I watched my favorite pitcher at the time, Pedro Martinez, and he was getting everybody out, and he was Pedro Martinez, Hall of Fame caliber. And I told my Rawlings rep, I said, whatever Pedro's wearing, I want that glove. And at the time he was on the New York Mets. And so they sent me this Pro 4B, 12-inch, with the trapeze web.
Yeah.
Kind of the pitcher's trapeze, if you will, not the outfield one, because it doesn't actually say trapeze on it, but it looks the same.
Modified trapeze.
Is that what it's called? Modified trap? And they sent it to me, and it was blue. And I didn't play on a blue team, but I had a blue glove.
There you go.
And I started playing catch with it, and I just liked the way that it closed. I liked the way that it felt, and I liked the way that it made me feel. I'm like, I'm Pedro Martinez. I'm going to be nastier than I've ever been. I'm going to try to get people out actually on the mound instead of giving up home runs left and right.
Stop finding barrels.
Yeah. And then, So I liked the way that it felt all off season. I pitched in the blue glove to start the season. And then I was able to order, obviously, the right color. I got some black ones, and I never used a different model the rest of my career.
Okay.
Pro 4Bs forever.
And it's so that's wild, because did Pedro use was he using like a really tiny glove, or was he using a 12-inch?
Whether or not we had the same exact size, I don't know.
Really?
I literally said, whatever Pedro pitches in, give me that glove.
Nice.
So I assume it was a 12, but I don't know.
No, that's awesome. That's just cool to see. I always love, because you stuck with it the whole time. You were like, dude, trapeze, and stayed with black. And sometimes, I mean, there's something too, just a little something subtle that looks good as well. So around the same time, you asked Rawlings. So, you've talked about this before. We actually had Kyle Junkinai on from What Pros Wear a few episodes back. We brought Kyle does such great work. We brought this up to you. So I'm holding it here. So we got a Rawlings glove. Jeremy moved the oval patch from here onto where the regular rectangle patch is on Rawlings. And so you asked them to do that. Is that right?
Yeah, but I can't take credit.
Okay.
The inspiration, number one, I think the inspiration probably came from the catcher's gloves. We talked about this before, right? The catcher's glove have the oval on the wrist guard. But really the inspiration was Tim Hudson and Mark Mulder.
Okay.
For the Oakland A's, you know, going back to Moneyball. They pitched in them.
Okay.
And I remember watching a game one time, like, I said, what brand are they wearing? I thought it had to be Easton, because Easton had the oval as well. And so they zoomed in one time, and I'm like, that's not an Easton, that's a Rawlings. So that's dope. I like that. A little oval on the wrist right there.
Yeah.
And so I asked them, could they do that for me? And they said, oh, shouldn't be a problem. And they did. Sure enough, they did. And so I started getting all my gloves that way because of Hudson and Mulder. And from there, I think they got a few more requests, and someone at Rawlings didn't like it. Someone didn't like, we got to have the traditional patch. This is our marketing tool right here. We got to have that out there, especially in red. They wouldn't even make it in a different color forever. But I got it made. And then I think because more people asked, they said, no, we're not doing it anymore. And so it became really exclusive, where I think for about 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we were the only 3 players that I'm aware of that could get the oval on the wrist. And it really didn't matter what I ordered. I could go to my rep and say, give me the patch on the wrist and do it normal. And it would always come back with the oval.
Really?
And someone else could say, give me the oval here and don't do the patch. And it didn't matter what they said either. It was going to come back with the patch.
Okay.
And so it was like wherever they were manufacturing the gloves, if they saw my name, they just knew, we're going to make it a certain way.
Really?
And they just did it every time.
That is cool.
Yeah. So really cool.
So do you still will you still get a glove every now? Are you like,
I have not ordered a new glove. Stevie Cohen, best rep in the game.
Okay.
Ever follow him on Instagram?
Yeah. I actually started recently. I was looking some stuff on you. Yeah.
Great follow. You got to follow Stevie Cohen. He takes care of me if I ever need a glove, but I don't know if I can get the oval R. I haven't tried in a long time. It's been probably since I last played, but I have almost every color I ever ordered. I have about 20 gloves at home, all brand new. And they all have the oval on them.
That's cool. So this is a stat that glove nerds, they're going to love this. So speaking of the oval R, so Game 7, 2014, starting pitchers are Jeremy Guthrie and Tim Hudson, correct? I can confidently say that never again will there be 2 starting pitchers in a Game 7 of the World Series who have the oval R on the back.
That's
of their
very possible. Very possible. Not only were we the oldest combined age of Game 7 starters, but we had the oval R.
There you go.
More importantly, we repped Rawlings extremely well. And when I say repped him well, I mean I repped him for 3 1/3 and him for I think 1 1/3. So I don't think we repped him that great, but at least we were wearing the Rawlings.
It was dude, those are fun times here in Kansas City. They that was just that's fantastic. So I was looking as well. So in a video recorded by What Pros Wear, so you shot a video with them. For me, it was actually really cool. I saw this video when I was working in our contact center. Sometimes, when you're doing customer experience work, it can be hard because, you're helping people out and sometimes it's hard. And I would always every once in a while, you wouldn't learn anything new about a glove for a while. You're like, I haven't learned anything new for a while. And I saw that video that you did and I was like, there's so many cool things that I do not know. I never knew before I watched that video that you sent. So that was one of those cool moments where it's like, all right, that's the energy I need to get through the next.
I like it. I'm fulfilled now.
There you go. Yeah.
We were spreading glove knowledge.
That's right. But you'd mentioned in that video that once you had spoken with a Rawlings rep before and you'd asked them for more freedom on their custom builder. Because up to that time, you were probably right. You probably could choose red, red, green.
There was no choosing.
There wasn't.
Red was all you got.
All you got.
That was it. Both the oval and the patch were only in red.
Yeah. So today, 2025, are you pretty happy with the state of gloves, with like what you can choose and things like that? I know on the mound,
I am, but I do have one complaint still. And the complaint is, as far as I understand, if you're a big league player or a professional player for that matter, and you have a Rawlings contract, you can't order the unique colors through them. If you order through your rep, it only comes in red. That's how it was at least a year ago.
Okay, really?
And so if I, Jeremy Guthrie, am at spring training in Surprise, Arizona, and I said, you know what, hook me up with a nice royal blue oval R on the wrist, they wouldn't be able to do it. It would come red.
Really?
But if I go on the website, then I can order whatever I want. I can have a beautiful SMU glove like this model right here, and I can put all kinds of beautiful designs, switch the patch color, switch the oval color. So that is the one limitation that I think professional pitchers still, or players for that matter, still encounters. They can customize, but not to the full extent. And that may be different for a guy like Lindor or these guys that have like the flashy ones. Maybe they can do it. But I think the everyday Joe like myself, we're stuck to red. And then if we want to go buy it on our own, and I asked them, I said, what's the difference? They said, well, if you buy it on your own, it goes through a different system. And, we're not expecting, that's not a complimentary glove or part of your contract where we need our brand to be out there, but you're doing it on your own. So go buy it on your own. You can make it however you want.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now we know. But
they would, but I mean, go back though. They wouldn't even, when I brought up the idea of a different color oval, no, come on. Red is our color. We, like, the world knows this is red. I said, you guys, I mean, as good as you are, you're not that important. Like, it doesn't have to be red. Like, no one, if you make it blue, they're going to be just as happy. But they were insistent that we will never make a different color patch or oval on any of our products.
They did.
They did.
You were a little part of that. You
maybe a tiny part.
A little tiny part. So if you were pitching today, do you think so? Okay. So about 8 years ago, you retired. Do you think if you were pitching today, you'd use something different up there, or would you black Pro 200 with the modified trap web?
I would have this. The glove would be the same, but my oval would be blue.
It would. Okay, there you
definitely
go.
Be blue. And if I was on the Rockies, it would have been purple. If I was on the Orioles, it would have been orange. I would have swapped that out, but the model would have been the same.
That's interesting. I actually do want to bring this up because this happened this year. This was really interesting. Just talking about having the glove that fits your team's colors. So with the Royals, they had Lucas Irseg, who came from the Athletics, and he couldn't get his Royals glove in shape. I mean, relatively quick enough. So he pitched for a good while for the Royals, and he had this green Oakland A's thing on it, which it is funny to think about that. You're like, well, it makes sense. He's not just going to change what he can't.
Well, you learn about an NBA, maybe more specifically NBA than other sports, but Michael Jordan wore number 12 when his jersey got stolen. I think it was in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Way back in the day. If you actually did a little search and a scour through baseball, and you kind of looked at bats and you could really zoom in, or gloves, you would see that a lot of players for sure bat with other people's bats, but occasionally they also use other people's gloves.
Okay.
And going off of that, like a glove that's not really the one you're wanting, but it's the only one you have. When late Yordano Ventura got called up to the major leagues, all of his stuff got lost.
Oh,
and so he was walking out to go pitch and he's like, I need a glove. And so I threw him one of my gloves, and he actually pitched in it.
Really?
And so, if you ever see a picture of Ace in his debut, it'll have Jeremy Guthrie on the thumb, and it's a different glove. Yeah,
that is really cool. I did love his. He had the Louisville Slugger all blue glove, which I thought was super cool. I always liked that. Like the day after Oscar Taveras, I always remember that was like a big one because he had the OT on his hat, and he had the all blue glove. I feel like I remember that one specifically.
Which begs the question: how did he have a TPX deal and accepted the Rawlings glove and made his debut? I'm sure TPX wasn't particularly happy about that.
That is kind of wild to think about. So nice. Okay, so appreciate this has been awesome so far. Before we close the interview, we usually do 3 strikes. These are more personal questions. We call it 3 strikes. You get 20 seconds like the pitch clock, but you take as long as you want. So being a shoe guy, you're also a basketball fan. And I remember back around 2014, you put up videos of you like slamming in the locker room on
Throwdown Thursday.
There you go. Yes. And so I believe the hoop was a little smaller than 10 feet, but have you ever dunked?
Just barely.
Just barely. Okay.
Just barely.
Have you dunked on a 10-foot goal before?
I have dunked on a 10-foot goal.
Nice. Men's basketball?
Yes. In fact, you can find that on my YouTube channel, which has 3 posts on it. I actually found out I have a YouTube channel. Someone said, do you have a YouTube channel? I said, no, They said, I think you do. You
Oh,
put
really?
like 3 things on there.
Nice.
I never dunked in a game though, which is one of my saddest moments that I can't say I dunked in a game and have a video of it.
Yeah.
But I used to be able to dunk pretty easy with one hand, 1 foot jumper.
Really? You would think that, like, if you got a breakaway with the adrenaline, like, you think you'd be able in a game to put it home?
If you're not good enough to get a breakaway, then you can have a lot of adrenaline but never get the dunk. That might have been where I fell.
Okay, second one. So you've done a lot of travel throughout the world and the United States. Specifically right now, why don't you just tell us, so you're an ambassador, you're MLB ambassador, is that right?
We work with the commissioner. We represent Major League Baseball in all different facets. And last year went to Mexico City for the series down there, also to Korea for the Korea series. This year I'll be, there's 20 of us in the program and all former players. And it's just a really amazing opportunity.
Nice. And so for a lot of our listeners out there, I'm sure that, international travel can be difficult at times, but in the United States, what's one place that you think everybody that in the United States should visit before they die?
They should visit Lake Powell,
Okay.
which is an incredible lake down in on the Arizona-Utah border. It's pretty much like the Grand Canyon with water.
Okay.
And then when I say water, like a lake, not just a river.
Yeah.
My favorite city in the United States is Chicago.
Okay.
I think Chicago is just pristine. Has water right there you can swim in. The cleanest city maybe in terms of big cities in the United States. I love Chicago.
There you go. Nice. And then final question. Have you ever played slow pitch softball before?
I have. I played slow pitch softball the summer I was drafted in 2002.
Okay.
I was waiting to sign, kind of working out the negotiation for my signing bonus. And I was up in Utah at the time. And I had a former teammate from BYU who played softball. I said, hey, would you want to come play softball with us tonight? So the only time I've ever played competitive softball was that evening down in Provo, Utah. And I learned really quickly, I'm better off not hitting the ball hard because my hard was about 280 feet right to an outfielder every time. So I had to start getting jammed so I could hit a ball about 140 feet over the infielder's head and have it drop in front of him.
There you go. It is a very difficult transition from baseball. Like, I remember I left college and my brother, like, that night was like, hey, I'm playing slow pitch softball. He's like, you want to come play? I was like, oh, sure, I'll play. And I think I hit a slow ground ball to the third baseman every single time and got thrown out at first base.
It's not as easy as it looks. It's going, why can't you hit that?
Yeah, no, that is funny. So, well, nice. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for coming on. This is a great episode. Cleats, gloves. I feel like it's very, very similar content. So I'm sure that everybody appreciates the insights on the custom cleats and the gloves.
Hey, thank you. What a pleasure to be here, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. For all of you guys listening out there, go ahead, please, if you're listening, you enjoyed this, just share it with a friend, anybody within the glove community. I think this is content that they would all really enjoy hearing. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Until next time, have a great day.